Aye.
Aye.
Against? That is carried. Thank you so much. We then move into item 13, unlucky for some. Now, Councillor Henderson, I know that I think you're the mover, sorry, not mover, the councillor for the youth advisory panel.
Yep.
If that's the case, if you're happy to move it, that will happen. And I've got Councillor Collins as the second youngest councillor on the council, and he is second item 13.
Hey, hold up.
Thank you for your confidence, Chair.
So if that's okay, I've got a mover and a seconder for item 13. We saw that Maya sent out the link, around the COVID link, that was on Wednesday. The purpose obviously is to provide an update and start the 3-yearly review of the activity across the Auckland Council group. So there was a presentation on Nexus, and I'm going to ask Joanna Maskell and Liz Civil to introduce themselves and then start the presentation and the item. So thank you.
Kia ora, Councillor Filipaina and all of the committee members. Good morning. Joanna Maskell and the team will be doing a presentation on this item. So I'll get her to introduce herself and take you through the presentation. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou, malo elele, Mr. Chair, Mayor and Councillors. I'm just going to try and share my screen with you now so that you can see the short presentation that I have in regard to I Am Auckland. Hoping that is working. Let's try that again.
It's loading, Joanna, so yeah, it's up there now.
Fantastic. So as I said, I'm going to be presenting the annual progress update on child and youth activity across Tamaki Makaurau in accordance with Auckland Council's I Am Auckland Strategy, Implementation Plan and Evaluation Framework. I Am Auckland is the strategic plan which sets out Council's commitments to children and young people in Tamaki Makaurau, and there are 7 goals which were developed from engagement with our rangatahi and tamariki and aligned to Auckland Plan goals. This first slide shows Auckland Council's Whanau Delivery in 2020-21 and compares it to delivery in 2019-20. In total, Council Whanau delivered over 230 initiatives for children and young people, which is a noticeable increase from the previous year where there were 171 initiatives. And in part, this is due to some improved data capture. Overall, we can see all of the goals have increased in numbers since last year, and particularly you can see that programming has been targeted towards Goal 2, which is the goal around belonging, and Goal 6, which is around opportunity. So a range of activities there, bringing young Aucklanders together to participate in recreation, arts and sports activities. We can also see in regard to Goal 3, which is around health and wellbeing, and Goal 7, whakapuawai, which is the focused on the wellbeing of rangatahi and tamariki Māori, have seen an overall rise, but there have been some declines in the numbers of initiatives reporting those 2 goals as their primary goal or main focus. So we will be keeping a watch on that in the next financial year. There are also some fantastic case studies of the great work that our operational council staff are doing, and I would like to acknowledge that. In attachment A to the covering report, you will see some wonderful case studies around some work that the Youth Empowerment team have done, co-designing an action plan with Hibiscus Base, the Community Play Streets Initiative with the Activation team, and the Hei Tauira placemaking program with Eki Pānuku, working with rangatahi, and a partnership between the Māngere Otahuhu Local Board, the Youth Empowerment Team and MOTAT, which linked 600 students from 8 schools in that local board area to participate in the STEM program at MOTAT. If you would like to look at the more full list of programs being delivered across Tāmaki, those are in attachment B to the report. This slide looks at the Wellbeing Indicators, which were established in regard to I Am Auckland in 2020. The measures there have been drawn from the Auckland Plan, the Quality of Life data and the Child and Youth Wellbeing Strategy. And the data we've collected there is primarily from council research or government sources. This snapshot is providing a high-level look at what is happening for our tamariki and rangatahi and is helpful for gauging trends over time and contributing to an overall understanding of their experiences. They don't provide us, however, with an understanding of why these trends are occurring or why young people are feeling a certain way. And also we need to acknowledge that many of these areas are where central government holds the main leaders to effect change rather than council. What we can see on the left-hand side is that there are some concerns that young people are reporting that they feel disconnected from their communities and that there has been a decline in the World Health Organization 5 Wellbeing Index scores, which suggests that some young people are struggling with their mental well-being, and this likely combines with the decreased sense of belonging and safety that's being reported as well. There's also a slight increase in the young people not in education or training there and employment. On the right-hand side, we've listed the indicator improvements. So there are some positive points around educational achievement, particularly young people leaving school with NCEA level 3 and above, and Māori school leavers increasing with NCEA level 3 or above, and a slight decrease in children in material hardship. There are some limits to this data. It's obviously not reflecting what's happening right now with this current lockdown. So there's a lag in the data becoming available. In terms of the impact that COVID-19 is having on our young people's well-being, as Councillor Filipaina mentioned, there is a link to the preliminary research that we carried out in 2020, and this is an area that we're wanting to examine more thoroughly in the 3-year update and review of the strategy. Returning to the priorities for the next year, as I mentioned, we would like to carry out a 3-year review of the strategy, and this will include working more closely with our youth advisory panel and engaging with young people across Tāmaki Makaurau. We also know that evaluation of initiatives remains an area for improvement across council. Whanau, we developed some tools this year to support evaluation by staff, and we will continue to offer support to staff to do that, as we know that resources have been stretched. We are also, as I mentioned, going to continue to monitor Goal 7, which is All Rangatahi Will Thrive, a Māori outcome goal. We have seen a year-on-year increase in activity around this goal, but as I say, in terms of the primary goal or initiative, there has been a decline there. We'll keep a watching brief on this, and we will continue to work closely with the Kia ora te whānau team within council in regard to that. We also want to improve the data collection and analysis that we are doing. So just finally, turning to the recommendations, we are seeking today an endorsement of the information in the report and the 3-year review taking place. Just want to acknowledge that this review has been delayed due to capacity and staffing restraints, but we are wanting to carry this out in the current financial year and report in 2022 or early 2023, and to work closely with the Youth Advisory Panel to deliver this review and reinforce the shared ownership of I Am Auckland. That is the end of my presentation, so happy to take any questions at this point.
Ngā mihi, Joanna, thank you so much. So look, I'm going to open it up for partai for questions. Councillor Collins, I know that you had one, so I'll go to you first, and then Councillor Cooper.
Thanks, Chair. Partly answered. I really appreciated that presentation. I just, when I was looking at the report, points 37 to 39 talk about the amount of data that is collected and perhaps bits that aren't collected. And I'm feeling a lot more confident from hearing the verbal presentation, but just wanted to get reassurance from the officers that they were confident that what's being reported is giving us a satisfactory picture of the measurements with regard to IM Auckland.
Yes, we're satisfied that this is a broad picture of what is happening against IM Auckland. We worked really closely this year with staff from the new Connected Communities Division, and that was incredibly helpful because we were able to capture more of the data around initiatives being offered at a local board level as well. So we're going to continue to look at that data collection going forward to make sure that we are getting a really good picture.
Thank you.
Councillor Cooper.
Kia ora, Chair. My question, thank you very much, Joanna. My question is around the fact that we've done more than ever, a lot of the goals and events, etc., and actions on the plan, but some of these indicators are still going down. Do you think that might be? I'm just wondering about what that is. Is that for a lot of the things council can't affect, as you said, that's a lot of government initiatives. But I look at that areas and they're around connecting in communities and things like that rather than educational achievement, which seems to be going on the up. Or is it just a function of the fact that we're going to be improving our collection data and methods? Do you think we're making a difference with this or not? Because what I'm seeing is that at the moment we're not, or is it just early days and there may be a lead lag time along with all the COVID stuff as well?
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, it's hard to know at this point. As I said, we don't have a real understanding from that high level data about why young people are feeling like this, and we do want to understand that more and put resource into that for our 3-year review. And I think that if we're able to engage directly with children and young people, we will get a clearer picture of that. I think it's encouraging, though, that there was a recognition from staff that the focus needed to be around some of those belonging areas. So that clearly the people on the ground are understanding that probably due to the pandemic, there are issues for young people and that there has been a focus on those areas. So I think in answer that we need to look into that going forward, really.
Thank you.
Your Worship.
Kia ora, Alf. Yeah, look, my question was similar to Councillor Cooper's. When you see the declining indicators and you look at sense of security and sense of community, you really need some analysis to say what that might mean. Where does it come from? Because if we don't know where it comes from, it's a little bit hard to address it. But secondly, can you just give us a bit of an indication? Can you explain a little bit further what the database is and how reliable you feel that database might be?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in terms of you're asking a question about the data that we've used around those indicators. That data is coming to us from central government sources. So we've used the Quality of Life Survey and sources from MSD and the DPMC and looked at the Auckland regional data for those. In terms of how big those sample sizes are, I am not sure, but I think probably it is giving a high level accurate picture. As I said, we do want to understand more about the impacts on the ground for young people and why we're seeing those outcomes. So we will be focusing on that as part of our 3-year review going forward.
Just a supplementary through you, Mr. Chair. If that data is coming from central government agencies, what analysis have they done themselves of that data?
So analysis in terms of why young people are feeling that way in Tamaki Makaurau?
Yeah, that's right.
I am not sure that there is a great deal of analysis of that data yet, but again, that's something that we can focus on going forward.
Thank you.
Perhaps if I can, through the chair, perhaps if I can just add to that, we're working quite closely with the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet. They have a child and youth wellbeing strategy and are developing a whole range of measures to look at how young people across the nation doing. And they've got a very large survey about to go into the field. It was delayed due to COVID, which is really talking with the rangatahi about their lives and all aspects of it. And we're hoping that the results of that will be available in the new year and will give us a much broader picture. In addition to that, as Joanna mentioned, we are working with our own research and monitoring unit, REMU, to do a much more deeper dive into how young people are doing in Auckland as part of this 3-year review. So we've already briefed them on that. We just don't have that data available yet, but certainly as part of this 3-year review, we will do. And so I think we'll be able to provide much sort of deeper insights alongside us actually talking to young people directly. So I hope that will give us a fuller picture in time.
Okay, Kapai, Councillor Watson, then Councillor Henderson.
So one general question, a couple of specific questions, if you don't mind. Point 48, the concern about employment and you know, the difficulty young people are facing there, and of course, you know, the manner in which then difficulties in employment leads on to problems with other goals such as health and well-being and belonging and all that sort of thing that's pretty well known. So the final phrase in that sentence is that it's positive to see the effort of the council towards supporting young people into employment. So notwithstanding, you know, the comments you made about you know, being reliant on central government for a lot of these substantive matters, what are the kind of the specific actions in the council's taking in getting young people around the region into employment?
Thank you, Councillor. In the supplementary report B, under Goal 4, which is page 11, it sets out quite nicely the council initiatives around youth employment. So our colleagues at Auckland Unlimited are running several youth employment schemes, the Youth Connection Scheme and the Youth Employment Pledge. And then council is running a career pathways program for internships and graduates, and also through COMET, the youth employability program. And additional to that, there's some specific work that the Southern Initiative, now CSI, are doing around Māori and Pacifica trades training. And also COMET working to get more young people into careers in STEM. So there's quite a lot of activity going on across the council whānau around helping young people into employment.
Those internships you mentioned, are they is that the graduate program, or is that another program altogether?
This one is there is one with the Tuppatua program, which you may be referring to, which is the graduates, but there's also the ones supporting young people, I understand, from high school into employment also.
Oh, okay. All right. And what sort of numbers are we dealing with that latter one that you just mentioned? Like, well, what sort of numbers of young people are we dealing with in terms of entry through that scheme?
Unfortunately, I haven't got that information in front of me, but I can find that out for you by speaking further with our operational teams.
Okay, thanks. I'd appreciate that. Just a couple of quick more, if I may. In terms of one of the case studies there, the one that's occurred up on the Hibiscus Base, where there's a real shortage, as the report remarks, on youth services, and the ones that do exist are really incredibly stretched. It mentions there that a social lab will be established. That's one of the outcomes of the various mapping exercises that are taking place there. What exactly is going to be the role of that social lab?
Again, I don't have the detail of that. The youth empowerment team have been working quite closely with that local board, so I can find that information out.
Okay, all right, thanks. I'd appreciate that. And just finally, goal 6, the opportunity. There's a whole lot of initiatives or programs that have been listed there, and one in particular caught my eye that I know has been very successful, and that's the basketball partnership between the council and Spark, which I think has resulted in 4 courts around the region, which are always incredibly well used and kind of serve a wider gathering purpose than just people playing basketball, as it happens. Is there any prospect of that being extended or modified in the sense that that could be half courts or slightly cheaper type of surface or something, given the number of areas the council has around Auckland that lend themselves to that kind of model, or even if it's not on the kind of grander scale it is in the 4 locations that are mentioned there. Is there any ongoing kind of connection there with Spark to try and leverage that relationship a bit more and spread it even further than it is?
Apologies, Councillor. Again, that's a question that I don't know the answer to, but can work with operational teams to find that information out and report it back.
Okay, yeah, thanks. So that maybe was a little too specific, but if you can get back to me on those 2, I'd appreciate that. Thanks very much.
Perhaps through the chair, I can just make a sort of overarching comment. So we're a policy team, and what we're doing is reporting across the broad council family about the range of activities that are happening. Some of the detail sits with our operational teams, and in the past, when we've done these kinds of reports, we've asked our operational colleagues to join us to sometimes answer those detailed questions. Given the circumstances with COVID and being online, we didn't do that this year, but we can certainly look to do that in the future, because I know it does enable us to provide fuller answers. Yep. But we'll certainly take back all of those questions to our operational colleagues and come back with responses to those kinds of questions. Thank you.
Fair enough. Thanks. Thanks very much.
Just on that point, Councillor Watson, and also to Liz and Joanna, can we get the responses sent to all of us, please? Because I think it would be relevant for all of us.
Absolutely. Thanks. Of course.
Bye. Councillor Henderson.
Kia ora, thanks, Chair. Yeah, look, I noted in the report a sense of community itself going down. And this is kind of in contrast to COVID's team of 5 million kind of rhetoric and the feeling that actually community's gone up. And it's certainly something that I felt myself. So where does council fit in all of this? How do we kind of, just in terms of a theme of questioning, how do we increase community, a sense of community for young people in this kind of environment?
Thank you, Councillor, for your question. I'll answer this one. I mean, it is a complex situation, young people and their views around how they feel connected or feel a sense of belonging. Obviously, you can see from the data that council teams are really focusing on that area, using the resources we have to support participation and belonging, or attempting to, with young people. What we find sometimes, though, is there's a lag in the data. There's a couple of things going on. So sometimes the data that we're getting, there's a lag from what we may be doing and the impact that might have on young people. But also there's so many multi-factors at play here. So we could be busy doing lots and lots of things, and young people, for a whole myriad of reasons, are still feeling, less happy and less connected. COVID has not helped, I'm sure, in that. But also the state of the environment. There's a lot of things playing on young people's minds. And I think the big opportunity that we have of this next year is to dig a little deeper into that, about Auckland's tamariki and rangatahi, and find out what's going on for them, what in particular is making them feel the way they feel, and how and what can council contribute to supporting them feel more connected. So I think there's a lot, it's quite a complex issue with lots of things at play. So I hope over this next year, by talking directly to young people and working with the government on the research that they're doing in that space too, we will be able to get a more fulsome picture around that.
Cool, thank you.
Joanna and Liz, thank you so much. There doesn't appear at this stage to be any more pātai, any questions. So thank you both. I'm just going to now open it up for any comments. And the 3-second rule applies. No, there's no comments. So obviously, thank you so much, Joanna, Liz, and your team in regards to this particular item. So it's been moved and seconded. I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour?
Aye.
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 Against? Carried. Thank you so much. We'll move into item 14, Toi Whitiki, and that is on page 125.